This is Noise from the Cranium. My name is Doug, and in this episode, I'm going to feature a live appearance I did on the Sound Explorer radio show in Penticton. Ian and I were live in the studio and had a rambling discussion on some of our favorite music. Have a listen.
This is Sound Explorer on Peach City Radio, 92.9 FM, Penticton's only community radio station. I'm your host, Ian, and Sound Explorer is a show where I take the listener through an exploration of my record collection. Sometimes it's new purchases, other times old gems, or a theme. And today's show is none of those things. Today's show, I have a very special guest, and you can hear him in the background there. I have with me none other than music guru, Doug.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Good. Welcome to Sound Explorer.
Why, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a rare opportunity when you're up on a Sunday in Penticton to actually come and join me on the air. So this is quite exciting for me.
Yes, and for me as well. I mean, I've been sort of part of your show in the background there, doing the Noise from the Cranium, and now I get to do whatever this is going to be.
And I know there's a lot of listeners out there on CFU said land who really enjoy the Noise from the Cranium episodes. I don't know if Steve-O's listening, but Steve-O, I was telling you about that Doug's here. He's here. Very exciting. So I'm going to play some music as we are, it's a music show. And what I've purposely picked stuff that I hope will stimulate a conversation. You can tell us some stories about the artist. And I purposely picked this first artist because you have a real connection with the artist as well as somebody who's writing a book about them.
That's true. And you're talking about Max Webster, who I love. I've been a big fan of the band for a long time. And a friend of mine back in Ontario, Bob Wagner, has written a book on Max Webster. It's a coffee table book. It's very big. It's like 300, 400 pages, something like that. It's a big, very well done. A lot of archive material, great color photos and posters. And he's kind of done it in the form of a gig history, showing their gigology, if you will, from I think 73 up until 80 or 81 and onward. And he's done a remarkable job, and I've had a chance to see a preview of the book, and it's really nice.
Yeah, when I was at your house a while back, you had a digital version, I think, loaded up on your iPad.
Yes.
And I flipped through it, and it was quite spectacular looking. A very lavishly illustrated, just all those little things like those posters, tickets, and very interesting photographs too. Yeah, and he is very well connected back in Ontario, and because that's where Max is from. They're originally from Sarnia, but I guess probably were based in Toronto during their heyday. And he's connected with former band members and gotten interviews and source material, and he's done a stand-up job. Let's play some Max Webster. So I'm going to start things off here with, actually from the first Max Webster album, Only Your Nose Knows. And we'll talk a bit more about Max Webster and your personal sort of experiences being a Max Webster fan when we get back. Okay, so this is Max Webster.
Only your nose knows I've been fooling around. Tie me down, tie me down, tie me down, tie down my heart. Pull them down.
All right. Max Webster, Paradise Skies, off A Million Vacations. That was the point where I discovered Max Webster back when I was a teenager. But you were there right at the beginning almost.
Well, luckily, I was in 1976. I went to see Rush at the Gardens, and they had finished 2112, and they finished touring for that, and they just put out the All the World's a Stage album, and just started the tour for that. I think the album came out like 2 weeks before I saw them, and the opening band was Max Webster, who had just released their first album with Only Your Nose Knows on it, and that's one song I distinctly remember seeing from them because it was such a quirky song. Kim Mitchell was so wild on stage. He's this skinny guy that's just jumping around all over the place.
In ridiculous clothes.
In ridiculous pajamas or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And the take back I got from that was just how crazy they were. Very interesting stage show, and the lyrics were just completely off the wall. The next year, when their second album came out, I was in a record store, A&A Records, downtown Vancouver. I was just browsing.
The one I worked in.
I don't think it was the one by
A and B.
It was the other one that was down on
Oh,
Granville.
on Granville Street,
Yeah.
okay.
I was browsing. All of a sudden, I heard High Class in Borrowed Shoes, the opening track, come on, because the guy at the counter decided to play the record. It had just come out. My head snapped up, and it's like, those are the guys that opened for Rush. And it was like, whoa. So I went over there. I looked, yep, that's them. Grabbed the album, and boom. So, immediate fan, just from seeing them. And I've seen them with Rush a few times and so on. And pretty much every time they came to Vancouver from that time. And very, very good live. Incredible musicians. Kim Mitchell, great guitar player. Zany guy.
It's actually interesting. Like, I was just thinking about, like, having worked in a record store. And I worked at a fairly large one in Vancouver, not the other A&A, which is on Pender and Seymour. And it was a very cool thing when you could put on a record in the store and instantly people are like, whoa.
Yeah.
And you like, it's like that scene from High Fidelity, the movie with John Cusack.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell 10 copies of the Beta Band EPs. And, you put it on and people are like, whoa, man, that's really good. And the power of music.
Well, especially back then, that was a great time, with vinyl and whatnot.
Well, and it's the only way you're going to hear anything.
Yeah.
If it was a track that didn't get played on the radio or you didn't know somebody who had it, you're never going to hear it. Mm-hmm. Pre-internet, the world of music was a completely different thing. And hearing a band live may send you down that path. Those opening bands. I've seen a lot of opening bands where I'm like, who are these guys?
Yes.
I've got to get this. Or other ones where it's like, who are these guys? I'm going to go get a drink. I'm going to play, actually, it was a good choice I picked, 2112. I picked a track from Rush next, and The Twilight Zone. And I've got two Rush songs from different periods. And I was hoping that we could maybe discuss that when we get back. But first, let's have The Twilight Zone.
Truth is false and love
Okay, we're back here on Sound Explorer, and that was Rush. That comes from the album Counterparts, Nobody's Hero. And before that, we had Greg's, one of his favorite Rush songs altogether, The Twilight Zone off 2112. Thank you for listening, Greg. Two very different Rush songs from different time periods. And we were chatting between songs here about how the evolution of the band and how at times, like for me, I kind of got turned off by the keyboard era.
Yeah, that was a difficult time for most Rush fans. I mean, you tried to stay with the band because you really loved them, but, you know, they were testing your patience, you know, when Geddy discovered the keyboards and Alex had to kind of take a back seat with the guitar playing, and he had to find new ways of playing to fit in with all the keyboards that were coming, and the keyboards just kept coming. It just kept getting more heavy, you know, from like Signals to Grace Under Pressure to Power Windows. It just kept building and building, and finally I think he'd had enough, and they realized that they were kind of losing the plot a little bit, and they stripped them back down again, and I think the Counterparts is a good example of an album where they kind of got into their heavier guitar-oriented stuff and kept the keyboards more, you know, here and there for effect, but not dominating the way it dominated on Grace Under Pressure, which I understand why you wouldn't like that one.
Yeah, I just remember when that came out, I'm just like, what? You know, where's Rush?
Yeah.
Where's the guitars? Where is Hemispheres? That's what I want. I want another, you know, like those classic era. And I guess the thing is, I bought a copy of Grace Under Pressure recently, and I was listening to it, and it was like, oh, this is not. I don't quite understand. Of course, I was also very young at the time.
Oh yeah.
Everything was a very emotional, right?
Of course.
I felt abandoned.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Hemispheres was a peak for me as well. We were, you know, sitting 10 feet away from the stage at the Coliseum with a less than half-filled Coliseum at the Hemispheres tour, and it was amazing seeing that with the double neck guitars and the whole thing, right? But to go from that to this keyboardy, short-haired, you know, beyond new wave kind of stuff, and it was difficult watching them grow, but then they grew into things you liked again because you got older as well.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna play some more music here, and we're gonna have some Electric Light Orchestra, a band that I really love, and it's just something that I grew up with. And this is particularly, I don't know, one of probably my favorite album by them is El Dorado. So we're gonna start with Mr. Kingdom, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna chat some more. All right, that is the Claypool Lennon Delirium with the song South of Reality from the album South of Reality, which I think I might have bought when I was with you, that album.
That's a great album. I mean, if you want something that's sort of early Pink Floyd sounding, like very psychedelic, that's your baby right there.
Yeah, actually, there's two Claypool Lennon Deliriums, I believe.
Yeah, I've got, I think one is something like Son of Phobos or something like that. And then there's a couple of EPs that came out. I have, I think, 4 different things by them, EPs and regular album size things.
So here is something you were telling me earlier. So, yes, hit me with it.
First of all, okay, before that, you played Electric Light Orchestra. A couple of years ago, I was fortunate enough to see a couple of shows on 2 nights. I saw the Claypool Lennon Delirium, and they were fabulous. They were at the Commodore in Vancouver. And the next night, it was either one way or the other, I can't remember. But then I saw Electric Light Orchestra at Rogers Arena. And the opening act was Danny Harrison. So on one night, I'm looking at Sean Lennon, son of John Lennon. The next night, I'm looking at Danny Harrison, son of George Harrison. So 2 Beatle kids on 2 nights. That was very cool.
I forgot to mention earlier that this is Sound Explorer on CFUZ 92.9 FM here in Penticton.
It certainly is.
So just in case you were wondering what you were listening to, that's what you're listening to. Yeah, that's very cool. Like the ELO, there's a certain Jeff Lynne from ELO he's produced so many things, and he's had his fingers in all sorts of things, and everything has that. There's a Jeff Lynne sound.
He was, I believe, enamored by the Beatles, and he's very Beatlesque in his ELO stuff. And, you know, when I saw him, he still sounds great, plays great, and the band was fantastic. So he still got it.
Yeah, and I think with ELO, like, I love those guys until Xanadu.
Oh.
You know, when they did Xanadu with Olivia Newton-John, so somehow that their whole credibility was just out the window.
Yeah.
You know, I think the album before that might have been Out of the Blue. That's the double one. I love that album.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's Discovery with Don't Bring Me Down.
Was that the one that had the airplane that you could make out of the cardboard insert?
Spaceship. Yeah. I have that version of it.
Yeah,
I got
that
the one
was
of the
neat.
spaceship. Speaking of spaceships, good segue. Ooh, I'm going to play a Canadian band from Victoria next, who I really like. They're called Spaceport Union. Permanent Frequency is the album. I'm going to play a song called In the Heart of the Sun. So this is Spaceport Union.
Flatland that stretches for miles, a hole in the center of the country. No towns, just flies on a windshield graveyard, baking into place.
That was Spaceport Union with In the Heart of the Sun, which is it's a lovely record. And I was just telling Doug a bit about Spaceport and what a great band they are. I've seen them live. Just a fantastic sort of underappreciated act. They played Penticton a couple of times back in the day, and I don't think they've done anything new music-wise for some time.
And as you mentioned, that was very Pink Floyd-y as well.
Yeah, and actually they went on this other sort of tangent where they did some stuff which was kind of like King Crimson-ish.
Oh, wow.
You know, and sort of maybe like Discipline era King Crimson.
Yeah.
And very good. Like,
Wow.
just a very good band that just doesn't seem to get the credit they deserve. So, unlike the next band, which is quite a bit more popular, I'm going to play a Genesis song next. And but before we get there, Doug and I have been talking about all sorts of things here, as we do, in the land of music. And
We're never short of conversation.
never short of conversation. And we're talking about all sorts of different gigs and things that we've been we've attended over the years. And later in the show, I'm just going to mention this. We're going to play some Jeff Beck. And Doug was telling me about the fact that you've seen him twice.
Yes, I mean, he's come to Vancouver a lot of times, and fortunately I've been able to see him twice. Yeah, he puts on an incredible show. He's a magician on the guitar. He's so good. And we were talking, like, you watch him at, on the DVDs or whatever, YouTube clips, and he doesn't use a pick, so he's playing with his fingers. His whammy bar stuff is immaculate, and he's just, and he always has a great band too. So
yeah, I would have loved to have seen Jeff Beck for sure. I posted the Ronnie Scott gig he did from years back on the Sound Explorer page on Facebook. If anyone's out there, if you want to listen to and see an amazing performance by Jeff Beck with an absolute stunning band.
And it was very sad to hear of his passing. That was I was shocked and saddened as I posted on Facebook. It came out of nowhere, and he was just touring a short time ago, and I just picked up the album that he did with Johnny Depp, which, as I said to somebody, it has some stellar guitar playing on it, and Johnny Depp also sings. So, I mean, whatever Jeff Beck does, you don't worry about who he's got with him, what he's, you get it, because it's going to have some stellar guitar playing, and whatever else comes along with whoever's in the band, whether it's Rod Stewart, whether it's whoever, doesn't matter. You're there for Jeff, and he doesn't disappoint.
We're going to play Genesis next, and this comes off of Selling England by the Pound. And there's some very interesting news, because Peter Gabriel has just recently released some new material, and there's talk of a tour. So I would be very excited to see Peter Gabriel. I have never seen Peter Gabriel. I know you have.
A number of times, yes.
Yeah, and I feel that is something that I really do need. I've watched lots of those videos.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of great concert videos, and he's so clever with the staging.
Oh, he puts on, again, everybody, it seems we've talked about, they put on a fantastic show, but his is different than a lot, because he does, like you said, the staging. He'll have upside down bicycles that they're driving around the stage. He'll have a phone booth that has, you pull the phone out and it's the microphone that he sings into, and it drags him across the stage. And he's very inventive.
Oh, there's an amazing concert video. I think it's a gig in Italy. Oh. It might be the Up Tour. Is that correct?
It could be, yes.
And it's just absolutely stunning. If you get a chance to watch it, it's just amazing. The guy
is that the one where he goes inside the big gerbil ball or whatever,
yes.
And he's rolling around the stage.
He's rolling around the stage. It's insane. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's have some Genesis. We'll come back. We'll talk a bit more, and then we'll finish the show with some Jeff Beck.
There's always been Ethel. Jacob, wake up, you got to tidy your room now. And then Mr. Lewis, this is the time that he was out on his own. Over the garden wall, two little lovebirds could do to you. Keep them going, they sharp, I know.
All right, that's Genesis with the song I Know What I Like in Your Wardrobe. So that comes from Selling England by the Pound, which is a great album, probably my favorite Genesis album from that era.
Yes, it's a great album.
So we don't have a lot of time, sadly. We've talked a lot. This has been Sound Explorer on CFUZ 92.9 FM. Check out the Sound Explorer Facebook page. Maybe leave a comment. And do check, because we do have information about that Max Webster book, and I've posted it on our website. We're going to end tonight's show with Morning Dew by Jeff Beck, off of the album Truth.
With Rod Stewart on vocals.
With Rod Stewart on the vocals and stellar guitar work. We're not going to get it all in, but Thanks very much for listening, and thank you, Doug.
Well, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me. This was great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm sure Doug and I will continue to talk music for the rest of the evening. But thank you for joining in. Take care.
But I heard a young man cry. Thought I heard a young man crying today. You didn't hear no young man crying. You did not hear